Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant. And if you threw a party, invited everyone you knew, you would see the biggest gift would be from me, and the card attached would say, thank you for being a friend.
Hey everybody, it's Tuesday. Welcome to Golden Guys, just like the Golden Girls without all the sex appeal. I'm here, DS is here, and we're going to bring on a special guest. DS, how we doing first? How we doing?
I am great, thank you.
Good, good. Welcome to get the show started here. So let's bring in our guest, shall we? Before we even get into the chat. There's some people in the chat, too. All right, here's our special guest. Oh, sorry, hang on.
Spider-Man does whatever a dealer can. Spins a deal any size. That good stuff he will buy. Look out, here comes the Snyder-Man. Comic art, comic books too. He's got collectibles old and new. At a shop or at a show, got stuff to sell, he'll come to you. Hey there, here comes the Snyder-Man. It's a thrill to buy. Need stuff day or night. The expertise is high, and the price is just right. Snyder-Man, Snyder-Man, friendly neighborhood dealer man. Got the art you're looking for, making you happy is his reward each day. You'll never know what sprang up, comics and art to hang up. Here comes the Snyder-Man.
That is awesome. That was great. Thanks, Anthony. That was good. Welcome, Anthony. How are you?
I'm great. Okay, yeah. I was getting like, it was running twice. The sound, the audio was running twice. I'm great. My friend Chris Palmerini did that for me. I didn't even ask him to.
Nice. Nice. All right. So welcome to Golden Guys. We're here talking about Golden Age comic books in the Golden Age era, and we're going all the way up to 55. Our buddy Knights is going through a little bit of the Pacific Northwest fires right now, so wishing him the best. Hope everything's going okay. We know a few other people in the community have been dealing with it, Bueller and a few other people. Safe to you all. Be safe and everything. And same thing with we might get Golden Age Guru here in a little bit. But I want to first, I guess we got to do a show and tell because it's the book. I don't care if it's Golden Age or not. It's still the best book. What'd you get in, DS?
Well, we're going to probably talk about some of this, but I've been striking out on Golden Age for like 2 months because the prices are insane, and I'm old and cheap. I'm not trying to overpay for that stuff, so why not grab something else that's cool from the Silver Age instead? So
There we go.
Silver Surfer 4, 9.2 white pages. This book's pretty tough to find above a 9.0, honestly. So yeah, I wasn't like on my radar, but I like the book and it's a classic cover. Thor's my favorite character. So this copy came up with a beautifully squared up spine. Just a really nice copy, white pager. So yeah, I couldn't pass that up for the price. So I figured, why not? I'm striking out on gold. Let me see if I can grab something cool that's silver. So yeah, I think it's a good investment and it's a super cool book. So yeah. Silver Surfer.
As everybody knows, that is my favorite comic book, period. I have my first slab copy here. I have one I paid $40 for when I was 14 years old. This is the most expensive comic book I had in my collection. Really, that's not true because the other comics I had ended up being Hulk 181s and other things. But at the time, this was the first book I ever spent $40 on in my life.
Nice.
So I remember when I did it, everybody thought I was crazy. Thought I should have bought a Don Mattingly rookie card instead or something.
Yeah, when I buy books like that are common, I try to look like where's the census drop, where does it become a rarer book, sort of, the census drop where the numbers drop way down and it becomes harder to find in those grades. And when you get into the nines on this book, it really drops down significantly, and you don't see that many out there above a 9, the age and square bound.
Yeah.
So, I figure it's a good investment, and it's a really nice copy of the book. And when I buy square bounds of any kind, I really like a nice squared up copy, even if it's a low grade overall. The squared up spine is ideal. So this one has it.
Yeah, a lot of the square bound ones, the first 4 Silver Surfers are great. The DC era square bounds, the Shazams, the 100 pagers, those were fun too. Those had a lot of good stuff in them. That's one of the lost arts of the early bronze, late silver age was those square bound books. You got more for your money. I know they were 25 cents, which is a lot more money, but you got good stories and fun stuff.
Yeah, they're just not real fun to press, but what are you gonna do?
It's like a jumbo every week.
I'm super nostalgic about those 100 pages. Those were right in my wheelhouse when I was buying as a kid. Yeah.
Yeah, the 72, 73, 74 run of
DC right there
was doing a great job. Some of the best Bronze Age. Funny thing is, Anthony, is DS and I are also big fans of the Bronze Age. Of 70 to 75 is just still the best of the all eras. Everything there outside of Golden Age, of course. That era right there reminds me the most of, because there's so much stuff. You got the start of some of the best artists of the era and the changing of cosmic and horror, and everything changed at that point. So still the best. I think it was the best.
And then, I'm into like the darker theme stuff. And after the Comics Code Authority, sort of, it all became like bubblegum for a while. And cotton candy and all light and fluffy type comics, and it really wasn't until the Bronze Age, and for me, Bronze Age DC bronze horror, it started to get dark enough again that I jumped back in that era. So I like Golden Age, and then I pretty much skip right to Bronze Age horror, with a couple things sprinkled in throughout. But yeah, that's where it picks up, sort of where PCH left off for me. So I really dig it.
Yeah. I got a couple really nice Bronze Age 20-cent horror covers in this week in a deal. The Ghosts #2, the Nick Cardy cover that had like a scuba diver, and the Spanish galleon comes and he's gonna get him, and that one already sold. And then Luis Dominguez, which just is a really strong image, really dark, strong image, bondage cover, whatever.
Nice. Yeah.
I think
I always loved the Cardy covers because the horror covers where he would mix the hero and the horror, like Superman getting stabbed with the voodoo doll. Yeah. I used to own that cover, that kind of stuff where he would mix it. He did horror covers and he did superhero covers, and then he mixed them, and that was always cool.
I noticed Bronze Age horror is becoming much more popular. I'm seeing in the auctions, the higher grade stuff, the prices have really been moving over the last couple of years. And as that happens and it gains more of a following, people are starting to realize there's more than just Wrighton and Adams. Those are obviously the two big ones. But, Louis Dominguez is fantastic. Nick Carter has some awesome stuff. There's other guys out there that are really good. Tom Nutt and Ray Morrow have some stuff that's really good.
George Evans,
Ernie Chan has some good stuff too. So there's some really good bronze horror, and I think it's a category that's becoming more popular. So it's good to get in.
I mean,
I'll tell you, the Luis Dominguez cover I got in, I've marked it the highest I've ever marked a Luis Dominguez cover, period.
Nice.
So that's the way it's moving. And there used to be a glut of those around because he there was a story about how he got evicted from his home, and just all his art was in there, and the sheriffs just dumped it, and then everything was out. But that's kind of dried up, over the past 15 years. Yeah, but unfortunately for him.
My favorite run of that Bronze Age, I collect the Tower Shadows run. It's the Marvel run, but I love the Tower of Shadows run. Right.
Yeah, Marvel's got some good stuff in there. Marvel's got some good stuff too with Clue, John Romita,
Killers, Dead of Night. They redid it all in the same time, and they rebooted like a lot of the DC reboots are from the sci-fi days and stuff like that, as well as a lot of the Marvel stuff. Like Chillers is from a different Chills magazine, you know. Really cool. But anyway, back to Golden Age comics. Yeah, I did not do successfully well at either of the auctions. I did Comic Link in there. Actually, for the same reason, I saw things going for higher than I thought they should be. So my own opinion, just my own opinion on stuff there. There was a few I liked. Some artwork I was kind of intrigued about. Then it started to skyrocket some more. But that happens a lot on there. I do want to shout out the chat, and I'm going to do that as best I can in a minute right here before we get going, because we're going to have a Golden Age conversation. We do have some pre-done questions. So first up, Ricky Marsak, good having you here. Anthony joined us right there. Ruben Guzman, very good. Barrett joins us. Chris Barrett, can't do a show without him. Jambo, my man right there with the ruler right there, standing right there. Loves his Jungle Comics, loves his Fiction House too. Ricky again. Who else we got here? Great Legend Show. There's one of our guys right here. Very excited to have Anthony Snyder here. And then Comic Mag Musings. Happy to be here as well. DS joined us right here. Nick L. Finally able to tune in live. Good for you. Thank you very much for joining us. Very cool.
And I see a customer got an order in today, actually. Somebody on the Magic Lasso got an order in today, and he was pleased with his order. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. He's a big Wonder Woman fan. Loves it when we show some rare Wonder Womans. We missed them the day we showed 2-1 Wonder Woman 1s. Airboy the Barbarian here. Telling the truth about talking about those sweet new modern books that everybody's going crazy for. All right, there's Magic Last One.
Well, I mean, the horror stuff. I really think it's a combination of the fact that the past 10 years we've been greatly affected by The Walking Dead, that turned a lot of people into horror fans, and now it's kind of run its course, and they're looking for the genre in general. And horror is like come up way up since I've been a professional dealer in that respect.
Yeah, would you say that's the one area of the Golden Age that? Because we talk about it here. I mean, just in the time we've done this show, we've seen books double in price. I mean, some of them.
Oh,
Mask one in 2 years. Black Cat.
And just LB Cole as a category. LB Cole is just like, taking off in that respect. Oh, I mean, it used to be, cool. That's a really nice cover. And it didn't really matter price-wise, but now it's like, it's LB Cole. It's beat up and it's $400.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, some of his, like, I don't know, we'll call them off-brand stuff, like the non-big titles like Power Comics 3 or that Black Target Comics. I just saw Power Comics 3. The last two I saw, one was a CGC 7.5. That sold for like $4,500. And then I saw a Raw that was close to the same grade, just sold for $4,200, like in a live sale sort of. So yeah, I mean the LB Cole stuff, especially as people have gotten into it and seen, the deep dive into the Cole, and not necessarily like your Starling Terror Tales 11. The Mask is obviously the biggest one on the list, but the other off-brand stuff of his, it's fetching some huge prices. Some of it has fallen off, but the big ones have continued to move forward and still have a lot of momentum. And it's just, what Anthony's saying about the horror, like Walking Dead, there's been, The Walking Dead, you have the Twilight Saga, you have all the zombie movies, you have all these vampire things going on. There's been a resurgence of horror in pop culture, and that has bled into the comic book market, and horror comics from all eras are still going strong. The good ones are still going. The lesser ones that people were jumping on have come back a little bit, but the top tier stuff is still moving strong. Chamber of Children 19, Black Cat Mystery 50. I mean, these books are nuts still. They're just not stopping them at this point.
I mean,
I picked up at the okay, what?
No,
at the
go
last,
ahead. We were just saying
the shows have started up here, again, and the John Paul show, and Wayne, and I picked up a small joke book with an LB Cole cover, and it was just valued, I mean, something that you really like look at. It's like, is that a $20 thing? But because it had an LB Cole cover, it was $250.
Yeah.
That was a joke book, it was a little joke, but a little humor on the joke book.
Yeah, I think I know the one you're talking about. I and some other people that I know are Coles fans are actively looking for that book, and there's not very many of them.
No, there's not. No, I have one. I got to find what I did with it.
Yeah, that's LB Cole fans are looking for that book, and it's very hard to find. It's like the Taffy Comics 6 with the Hitler tank cartoon cover. That one's tough to find as an LB Cole. People will see that, and you might not necessarily think it's like a Frisky Fable sort of, but it's really coveted and expensive. And I know the one you're talking about. I've been looking for that for years, and I think I saw one maybe, and that's it.
Well, dig it out, and I'll offer it to you. I don't have any attachment to it. Somebody's asking like what I collected when I was a kid, and my story is that I was buying 20-cent comics off the twirly rack in the 7-Eleven, and a comic book store opened when I was about 10 years old in Las Vegas, where I was growing up. And I immediately started to use my money to buy back issues, and I had an entire Silver Age collection by the time I was going into 8th grade. I had Spidey 1-Up, I had, all the Marvels, Avengers, multiple copies, X-Men, Daredevil, JLA, Hawkman, so that's, I do have the love. I'm not just a mercenary dealer. I have the love, of the source material. And the stuff that I still keep and don't put into inventory is pages and stories I remember from 20-cent books as a kid.
Yeah, that's one of the cool things is you have that passion for the hobby as a fan. When talking to you at a show, you feel when you have a piece of art, you tell the story behind it. If it's one of those pieces that you like, if it's I think I bought a Hulk a 1973 Hulk off review, a 1972 Thor page, and you just told me Walt Buscema did it, and it's got Luis Dominguez over here, and it was just a cool picture of armor. I think it was, I forget, it's 211. I don't know how long ago it was, but the passion you have for it it's something to be proud of, that we're not just mercenaries and everything else, because people do say you do sell books. Yeah, I do sell books from time to time. I do. It's how I buy other books. I mean, it's pretty much what I do now.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about selling books, and JD, you and me, we sell books, but we're not, obviously we're in even the ballpark what Anthony does. But everybody who sells books, we do it because we love the books. And even when I buy books that I know I'm going to sell, I still love getting them and looking through them and enjoying them. And it still becomes part of my experience in the hobby and books that I remember owning. It's still exciting to get books in, even if you know you're going to sell them, because you love the artwork. So even books you plan on selling before you even get them in hand, you know you're going to sell it. There's an excitement to having it, to looking at it, to holding it. If it's one you never had before, it's exciting, even if it's one you're going to sell, because, hey, I've never had this before. Now I do. And then you sell it, and it's fun. You get to see a lot of cool stuff, and then you keep stuff for yourself. And, the passion's there, and everybody enjoys it differently. And some people go on, to become very successful sellers of it. But I don't think, that doesn't affect the passion.
Yeah, one of the things that happened was I just started going through. I just realized a lot of books started going up in value, like the Venoms, the Cates, and everything else. To where these books, I'm like, I have them, and I'm just okay. Let's sell them. Let's get some other stuff. I did get a book this week that I was real proud to get, just because I found it in really nice condition. I told you I buy anything that's I think could be a 9.4 of this era. This is a little later on. This is like mid 70s, but it's cool because it says you could be in the Superman movie down here. I never saw that ad before. So I thought it was really cool. To Doom Patrol, I mean, I did start reading some showcases, so I do like that run. So on Golden Age, one of the things that I did notice that we just talked about today. Did you see how many Batman ones are on eBay right now? One guy is selling 3 Batman ones, a 6, a 5, 6, and a 7.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they start. I think the 7's at 485, the 6 is at 375, and the 5 is at 250 and change.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I remember early last year, there was a Batman one that sold one of the auction houses for $250,000. It was a 4.0. And then I remember seeing a 4.0, I think at Heroes Con last year, and the price on that was $250. And then since then, I feel like the price on that has plummeted to some degree. Where I saw a 4.0 on eBay for like $150, and now there's 9 Batman ones on eBay. Maybe part of that's because there's not really cons for those to be shown at. And so guys are throwing them on there. But I mean, to see 9 Batman ones and good copies, there's not 7.0, 5.0, 6.0, 4.5. I mean, there's all kinds. So I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what Anthony thinks. Why so many books of that caliber all of a sudden are just like ending up on eBay?
Wow. I'm not sure. I just people are looking for money and trying to get it out there before they think maybe the election will affect money flow in the whole country.
Yeah. Good. There's a con coming up in next week, and not this weekend, but the following weekend. It's the first one we're going to have here in the Midwest, and it's usually in Quad Cities, Iowa. But now it's literally right over the border here from Omaha. So it should be a good con. I'll check it out. I'm excited about it. It's a lot of people from Kansas City and the Oklahoma group. So that means a lot of pulps and a lot of jumbos. So I know a couple of dealers down there that bring up a lot of good stuff. So I'm excited about the Midwest cons. I grew up on the East Coast, so I know the places Anthony's talking about, the Ramsey, New York, the Ramsey auction. There was a con in Jersey in Cherry Hills years ago. I don't remember the name of the con, but it was a pretty well known con. But at that con was where I will tell you this. That's where I saw the first time I ever saw in the Golden Age an entire run of Captain America 1 through, I think it was like the first, all the war books, and the guy had them all laid out. And they were talking about him, how there's a Spider-Man in this one, which I never knew there was a guy named Spider-Man in one of the Captain America comics, and they're all talking about it. But those are good times. But I'm really excited that con season might be some sense of normality, because I do enjoy buying and selling at cons more than I like doing online. I like trading a lot more. I like bringing books to a con and doing that. That'll be fun. Coming up.
Well, I miss the action. I miss, the back and forth with the customers and the buying and the selling, and no dealer in the country has lost more show days than I have.
Right.
I lost the whole month of July. I usually am out on the road to San Diego and doing pop-up stores and my Comic-Con across America. And there's usually something every weekend where I'm either set up or shopping a show. Last week I do the small comic shows in North Jersey because there's money in Bergen County, and people will come and spend money. And I try to make customers there, and I bring my CGCs and some art, and now next weekend we have the comic art show that Joe Viteri of Viteri Productions is starting up again, and I've been helping him out. We did a streaming with Bill Cox, Comic Art Fans Update, and try to promote that and get people back in at the Comic Art Con. That's Sunday in Hasbrook Heights. And I'll be set up there. I'll bring as much stuff as I can just to fill the room up, and there to do business and hope it's well attended and well supported.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's one of the things. I'm glad the dealers are getting back to going, and then eventually we'll I hopefully there'll be a big con. I don't think we'll get one this year. I don't think we're going to. Baltimore's already going to be online. I think we're just going to have to chalk up 2020 as the big cons are done, but then we'll start again next year. and I think we'll be good beginning of next year. And hopefully we'll get to see a lot of people at these cons and have some fun. One of the
what a point I made with Joe and John Paul, the guy who does the comic shows in Bergen County. It's like, just you guys do them every month. Up your frequency. Let's do more small shows. That we can, that we're allowed to do, and that are comfortable and for people, and do more small shows. Just up the frequency. That's it. That's my point with it. We can't. I have 8 booths at New York Comic Con. That's my home show and a statement show for me. And not having that's just. I don't even want to get into numbers. I don't like to talk about numbers, but Jesus Christ, it's been significant amount of revenue and business that I've lost.
Yeah, and that's one of the rough parts. One of the questions we had here is about, now that it's a seller's market for the Golden Age, one of the questions we have is, what can we learn about key Golden Age books, high-end books that at least, let's say, a $5,000 entry level, when they only appear on the marketplace 0 to 2 times a year, and now we're seeing so many become available. How do we judge, is it, we used to only seeing 1 or 2 of these things trade a year. Now we're seeing a lot more become available, whether or not they sell or not. But we have seen a lot more books come on the market lately. Do you think, obviously that could be directly to the lack of markets. Are there, what do you think about what do you think we can learn about, anything we can learn about the Golden Age collecting, if for the last couple of months, what have we learned, do you think? So that's a good question here. I was thinking my point on this is I've never seen, like we talked about the Batman ones on eBay, I've never seen books that, we were just talking about it before we got on the air, books that you've never seen come available are now coming available in droves. And it starts with 1 or 2, go for a high price. And then, like we talked about the Mask One, where a couple went for a couple of $1,000s in 1.0, and all of a sudden they're going 5, 6, 7,000, 6,200. And there's a lot more Mask 1 and 2s that we've seen come of age or come available. Speaking of LB Cole, but again, we've seen, Superman Mysteries and a lot of those Golden Age books come up. Do you think that's do we consider it still a seller's market, or is it a lucky buyer's time?
Well, I'll tell you, I think there's 2 things you got to be careful on, especially when it's rare books. I've always been saying for the last few years, as the prices on some of this Golden Age stuff has been skyrocketing, is everything's got its price. And people who have owned these books love these books. They don't think they can get enough money out of it to make it worthwhile to even sell it. So they don't. But then somebody drops one in an auction and it goes nuts, because there are a lot of people that want it. And then other owners of that book say, oh, well, I've got 2 of those, or I've got a nice low grade. And, they'll throw it out there. And then you see more come to market, and it's a feeding frenzy initially. And, one thing you have to be careful with is books that you think are rare that never come to market. When they start coming to market, it sort of opens the floodgates. And then you find out if books truly are rare. Like Mask One was considered a very rare book. Well, when the floodgates opened, it's not really that rare. They're all over the place. There's a lot of them on the market. So you got to be careful not to overpay for something because of the rarity when it's really not that rare. And also another thing that happens is a lot of people buying these books are Golden Age sort of short-term investors like myself that like to buy those books to flip them a few months or 6 months or 9 months down the road for a big profit because the book's really moving. So you get sort of an artificial demand for these books, where a lot of the demand for the book is people that just want to resell it. So it's sort of like it puts a lot of short pressure into the market when you have a lot of people buying who have intentions of selling it back on the market soon. So you got to be careful jumping in on high prices on some of these Golden Age books. But yeah, everything's got its price. I remember Black Cat 50 was impossible to find. And then they started going, a couple of them went high, and now that book's left and right everywhere. Same with Mask One. That book, you will never see a Mask One. Now every single auction's got one.
Yeah, I've even seen numbers on the census on books that used to have 3 to 4 or 5 or 6 on the census, now have 11, 12, 13 in a year. I give example of, I used to have 2 of the 3 only graded wanted 49 comics. Now there are 8. Now I've got 3 of the 8, but I mean, just the fact that happened alone, when nobody was buying that book, and I like wanted comics from Morbid Publishing. It's all that Buscema work. It's great stuff, but yeah, that's another thing. The Mask 1, the Black Cat 50 on the horror side. I've even seen the superhero books. I mean, we saw in a matter of, I think, 3 straight auctions, there was a minimum of 1 cap 1 over the last 4 months on every Comic Link, Comic Connect, Heritage, all of them except for the weekly ones. They all had cap 1s and Submariner ones. I've seen a lot more Submariner ones. The yellow Submariner one as well. But I do think that's something that's right there. I mean, is it? We had maybe people are buying it. Things are going at higher prices. We're not saying go out and buy it, but now there's all of a sudden the books that we thought were really rare you can find now. And Anthony, what do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a seller's market. It's drawing the money, but I think it's a finite system that it won't last.
Right.
These people, they'll go into collections. The people that are buying them have money. They don't necessarily need to sell. So once once this run kind of dries up or has its peak, I think it'll go back to normal in respect to frequency of what you're seeing these big books.
Right.
But there seems to be, the thing is, and with this thing and with the lockdown and all this other stuff, the people that have money are still spending money. Okay. I've done some, very strong deals from artwork, and I've taken some stuff out of my personal collection that I was, not looking to sell, but, got offered strong money for. So, there's that aspect of it. There's money out there that wants to get spent, and you got to roll with it.
That cap 1, the one that just sold, and there have been a lot of them on the market in the last year and a half. There was a 2.0 that just sold like last week, I think, for $90,000. I'm no expert, but I remember seeing a 5.0 sell for, it was like a 5.0 sold for 100, and now a 2.0 sold for 90. The volatility on these big books is all over the place. I mean, these books are volatile, so I think you really got to be careful and pick your spots if you're doing it as an investment or looking to resell short term. If you just got the money and you just want to cap 1 of your collection, and that's a good looking 2.0 and you're good with it, you can lay out whatever you want. You put it in your collection, you're good to go. But if you're not doing that and you're looking to invest and maybe sell it down the road, a year or two down the road, I see some of these places and I just think, I hope it's not one of those people that's planning on reselling it in a year or two, because I think the price they paid, they might have to wait, 10 years to recoup that. But then I see the next one go and it's like 120, and it's just like, it's so volatile.
18 months ago, a 7.0 restored cap 1 sold for $32,000. It wasn't even extensive. A 5.0 was selling for $45,000. That was 18 months to 2 years ago. Now, those were low prices, but that was the very beginning of this run. Now, I use cap 1 as the example because I use it as the one that's saying that's the one that everybody knows. It's easier to find than the texts and the soup actions, and it's just easier to find. So it's a good indication. But there are the next question we had on this was, why are certain big boy books, which we call the big boy books, still held during extreme sellers markets? The action ones, the tech 31s, the suspense 3s, Super Mystery, all those comics. There was the question they had was why are certain big boy books still held even during this crazy time when they can make the money? Even some of the big books are seeing how I don't see a lot of Tech 27s or Action Ones, or those are the big, your Mount Rushmore, you'd say, the golden age. I don't know. I've seen the first time I ever saw a Jumbo One sell in the past year. I've seen a couple of Tech 27s. I've seen the 2 Tech 31s. What did that one just go for at Heritage? That
40, 42 or 45.
That was the 1.0.
Yeah, it was a 1.0. I mean, for a 1.0, it was a good looking 1.0. You know what I mean? But I mean, I think the last 1.0 sold for 30,000.
Yeah.
And I remember one at the con last year. I think Baltimore last year sold for like 25 maybe, but it might have been a 0.5. I'm not sure, but yeah, it was 30 grand, and now this one just sold for over 40.
I had a guy buy 1.5 for 45,000 about a year ago.
Yeah, he's probably in the money on it.
Cash, yeah.
Probably in the money on it.
Yeah, and then there are.
Well, my input on that would be that the people that have that can play in that range, that 6-figure range, they don't turn over stuff as much. It goes into a collection, and it might not come out until they die. I've heard that said about certain cars, certain collectible cars. This car only changes hands when somebody dies. And I know, that there's a couple of Action Ones have gone, to oil people, in Bahrain and stuff like that, and that's never coming back.
Right.
What do they need? What do they need? They don't need to sell that. They don't need that money. So that's, and in my experience, when I've done big deals, like I've never seen that stuff come back out on the market.
Yeah. One of the
Just haven't.
One of the ones is, are there really fan favorite books that are so coveted that the supply matches the number of collectors? To each his own on that one. I mean, everybody, I guess, has their unicorn books, but for me, it's like an All-American 61. That book's just ridiculously high, and it's hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, these books, even the fan favorites, even the biggest of books, not everybody who's buying those books is somebody that's going to keep it forever. There's always going to be a portion of those people that will be willing to sell it for a nice profit to move into something else. So, yeah, I think even on fan favorite books where the supply matches the number of collectors that want it, some of the collectors who want it, who do own it, will sell it for a nice profit because they can get something else. Not everybody has unlimited money. Even if you had a lot of money, it's still worth taking a big profit on something and moving it into something else. You don't have to outlay any more funds, and you can just generate profit within the collection. So I think a lot of that happens. And then there's a lot of people that are in these big books for short-term investing, and they're out there in the market all the time. And a lot of these books are going to these short-term investors, and they will overpay. It's like buy high and sell higher sort of mentality, which I don't do. There's a lot of buy high and sell higher mentality out there in the short-term investing market, and a lot of those people are picking up some of these big boy books. So yeah, some of them are going to collections and not going to leave, and the rest are being sort of circulated around for everyone else.
I mean, I have seen the same Starling 49 change hands. It's the same 8.0.
Yeah,
I've seen it go. At least 4 or 5 friends of mine have had it. Well, 4 or 5 people I've either bought or sold from have had the same Starling 49.
Yeah, I mean, you'll see the same book go on Comic Link, and it'll sell, and then you'll see it 2 months later on Heritage, and then you'll see it on the boards, and then you'll see it on Connect.
Yeah.
And it'll be the exact same copy you'll see 4 times over the next, 18 months. And it's not always the same. It's a different seller each time sometimes. So, I mean, I don't know.
I've seen that happen. I've seen the same. Well, I just remember that one in particular because I know the story of the book, but it's one of those. I mean, we're at a point, and the other thing I see that, and you brought up LB Cole, artists are getting their recognition of the golden age now that are mattering now in the value of the book, to where people are looking for, like Matt Baker Diary Secrets books are very hard to come by right now, and people are buying them up in droves. And that's something that for years you could have had it on your back wall. You wouldn't even have had it on your back wall 5 years ago, 6 years ago, probably. You know, just one of those
always
things,
looking for Matt Baker art too. You know, as hard as it is to come by, I'm always looking for even a flamingo strip, you know, or something like that, and that's over $2,000. You know, for a flamingo.
We had a piece. I don't know if you about a year ago, there was a Jungle book that Rick had, that we had a copy of the book, two copies of the pages was being sold with it, both Baker, and it was for $3,900. I think he ended up selling it for $29,000 without the book. I think he graded the book and sold the book separately. But he says he wish he had that back, and that was 2 years ago. You know, 2 years on Matt Baker. I mean, Matt Baker is somebody who's famous to begin with, who was great, who was an iconic artist to begin with. But his popularity now with LB Coles, and I'm going to throw Schoenberg up there too. Alex, I mean, his popularity is going crazy right now, like it always was, though. I mean, we were always fans of his. But we talked about Frazetta beforehand. Artists in the golden age, now that matters, where, you know, it matters a lot more. You know, we say, oh, it's Kirby art. There's so much Kirby art, but when there's Baker art on a Diary Secrets or a Teenage Love Confessions, people are going crazy for that stuff. I mean, it's just the way it is. So,
yeah, I think for Schoenberg was so traditionally tied to timelies. Some of his other non-timely stuff I've seen has caught on in the last couple of years. The only reason I know that is because I'm not a timely collector, but I like Schoenberg. So I collect the non-timely Schoenberg stuff. So I feel like, well, the Marvel Mysteries and the Caps, the timelies, the Torches, and stuff like that, it's sort of like Schoenberg stuff. But some of the other stuff on the edges, some of the excitings, prices on Sterling 49, even those spiked way up and have sort of plateaued a little bit. You know, some of the Continental stuff, some of the Catman covers, you know, Mystery Comics 3 stuff, some of the off-brand Schoenberg stuff has been doing really well. But the needlers, especially, and like some of the airbrush stuff, that stuff has really moved in price over the last year and a half. And I think it's people are starting to go after certain artists. And I think part of like Matt Baker, some of his, you know, horror stuff, which is not fantastic, has spiked in price too. Whereas hardcore Baker collectors always like the romance, but his other stuff has caught on. I think people are becoming more aware of who the artists are and going after a wide range of their work. And you're seeing that lift prices on a lot of the stuff that's not necessarily mainstream for their artists.
I think the golden age artists. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I've been going to shows, and I was at San Diego in '93, I think, walking around for the first time, and then had half of a table in '94, and then my own booth in '95. But I've been involved with the art community this whole time, and known all the biggest players. I've seen one Schoenberg cover.
Wow.
Ever. One timely Schoenberg cover have I ever seen was a Human Torch, and that was owned by a gentleman that has been in it since the '70s, and that's the only one he ever had. You know, so that's hen's teeth, man.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
The only Schoenberg stuff I've ever had has been scraps, absolute scraps. You know, nothing
most
significant.
Of it got tossed, right? A lot of that stuff got tossed because the covers were done separately, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, the covers were done in a separate warehouse. Yeah. I was heard an old story about that. It was a woman who worked at was working back then in the mid 40s and said, "Stop throwing everything out. Let's put it in." And they started putting it in the back of the envelope, but the first like 5 years of it's all gone. You know, the covers were in the back. There was a woman. Heard it was an old handler for one of the guys out here, Alan Bellman's old handler, Gerard. He used to.
Oh yeah.
He used to tell that story.
You had a story.
Yeah, they were telling stories about that. They never had the covers. That the covers were made somewhere else, and the books were somewhere else.
It was a different company. Like World Color was one of them that did. You know, it was a different stock. It was a different printing press. It was different this and that, and then they'd put them together, and nothing came back from that printer.
Yeah, that's what they said. They said they just threw them out.
And sometimes it was like for the most mundane reasons, like when they were doing twice up covers early on, these pieces were huge. They were like poster size, you know, even bigger than what we know as twice up Silver Age, and they just didn't even fit in envelopes.
Yeah.
Well, you got nowhere to put it. Just throw it out.
Yeah. I've seen some Dick Ayers original art I saw from the Golden Age that was old Spellbound stuff, and it was like 22 by 19 size, almost like really big. Is that what it was? Like this was 1947, I guess. Were they that big?
Yeah, twice up. Yep. Yep.
So Anthony Purdue says the Dallas Post Herald ran the Flamingo strip in 1952. There you go. That's one of our favorite people.
Frazetta art has been popular for a long time, like the art itself, the original art or his paintings. I think the comic books and the publication stuff of his is starting to take off. And I wonder, Anthony, if you think there's any relationship between that, or is it two separate markets, two separate types of collectors? Because I know Frazetta art has its own collector base and it's really high end. But then a lot of his comic, like those two famous funnies we were talking about that went crazy. I know the price on those. Do you think there's some crossover with that, or is it just independently sort of moving?
No, I definitely think you know, when something's a painting sells for $1 million, that price point, like, oh, you know, I want a piece of this, and you know, 2 or 3 or 4 thousand is, you know, not a lot to spend for somebody that can garner a price of $1 million or two. I mean, that painting that just what did it sell for? 1.2?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I thought that was cheap.
Yeah,
really, I thought it was worth double that. I thought that was a bargain at 1.2 at this point in the game. Really, that's an all-time great image. So the Frazetta art, you know, I have something that I like a lot. I have one of his last oil palettes that I'll try to show sometime. And yeah, that came out of his house after he passed away. So I mean, you know, the best is the best, and he is the best. He is unchallenged in that area. I mean, he'll always be regarded as the best guy that ever lived and worked in this medium.
Yeah, I think every time I've seen one of his paintings come up, it sells, you know, usually well over $1 million. And you know, some of the images are more iconic for him than others. But I thought the one that just sold, that was legit top tier iconic Frazetta image. That wasn't no slouch for a piece of art. And so I thought it would go higher too. I don't really follow the art market, but I always watch the big Frazetta paintings, and they're usually on Heritage, occasionally somewhere else. But yeah, they always go. I think one sold for over $3 million last year.
The Egyptian Queen.
Yeah,
I think it was the Egyptian Queen on the pillar.
Yep.
Okay, so take that one and you know, with the John Carter Warlord of Mars, right? You know, there's a $2 million difference between those two. I don't think so. No.
I think
it's a toss up. I really think it's a toss up image wise. I might like the John Carter one on my wall better.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, to me, I don't have any experience or real knowledge in this area, but I know that some of the Frazetta works. And when I see the two of those, they both look like equally iconic Frazetta images to me, and they're both original paintings of it. So I figure they're comparable. And then the price difference is so huge. It's, not a market that I'm ever going to participate in, obviously, but fun to watch. I just want to get some of his famous funnies, and the prices on those have been going through the roof. And they're not that rare, and I am just bewildered as to why exactly mid grades are going for $2,000. And I don't know. I think Frazetta is just catching on across. The comics, his comic book stuff has lagged for a while, whereas original art was where it was at. But the comics have always been low. And they're starting to pick up. I mean, they have picked up.
I have the whole run of Warren Creepy and Eerie Frazettas. I have the whole early works, and 1966 this stuff was, so it's not golden age, but it's 66. Jim Warren. Jim would pay these guys like $100, $125. He paid Steranko for 27, and I heard he was paying Frazetta like $150, but Frazetta got to keep the painting. That was the big deal. But he would do it, and these things here. I mean, there's history in these. Is the letter from in here from a 16-year-old Bernie Wrightson to Frazetta is great. It tells the story, starts there. And I always say Frazetta to Wrightson is one of the, Mozart to Beethoven moments, not the same, but the influentials are there,
Well, you can see, and I don't have anything to back this up factually, but when I look at Wrightson's work, especially the wispy line work that Wrightson used a lot, yeah, I can see line work in that. So I have to think that either they just have very similar styles coincidentally, or Wrightson was to some degree influenced by Frazetta's work, because it has a lot of that same sort of wispy, windy, sort of creepy line work that Wrightson uses is what Frazetta used too. And I see that in a lot where if you didn't know better, you could look at one or the other and you wouldn't know which artist did it sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, this came from the Bernie Wrightson fan club. So he signed it, he gets to this one. And I always looked at this and I said, that's Frazetta-esque. And when you look at the early Frazettas, like the science fiction and the famous funnies and stuff like that, the Buck Rogers and stuff like that, it's on another level. And that's truly Frazetta. And this to me is his best work. I mean, even he's transforms art. I mean, comic art. I mean, this is one of my favorites. I just grabbed two of them.
Comic collectors, though, shy away from that sometimes, and I'm one of them. And this is going to sound shallow, but I believe this holds true for a lot of strictly comic collectors, is that we like the size of the comics, the size of the slabs, and then those things are so big and they don't match up with your collection. It's sort of a different animal. It feels different to start owning the bigger the magazines, the Warrens and stuff. But Frazetta, when you come to Frazetta, that's where it's at. There's so much good stuff in those Warren magazines. When you get to comics, Frazetta doesn't have a whole lot of comic book covers, especially. He really doesn't have that many. He's got the Famous Funnies run, which is short. It's like 209, 215. Really not that long. He's got a couple PCH books. He's got the Wear 10. There's not a lot of Frazetta comic book cover stuff out there to go after. So I think people who want Frazetta are just jumping on what comes up. There's not a lot of it, and that's driving some of those prices.
I think the first appearance of Frazetta is in a Tally Ho.
Yeah.
And then go to the Thunder books.
He didn't do the Tally Ho cover, though, but he did interiors his first work. And then the Thunder is cover to cover all Frazetta.
The only cover to cover comic book.
Right.
The reason why you got to get into Eerie is because the stuff inside is better than anything in the comics. It's crazy. It's all the best.
Yeah.
I always say that this is like a fanzine that you just never knew. I mean, these things were mass-produced fanzines. But I have a few
stuff that went into like 1984. That magazine. You look at that, like who the lineup of the artists that were doing those stories was just incredible.
I mean, Neil Adams is doing.
It's a dollar book. It's nothing. And like, look at this stuff. These are the greatest guys in the business that were just like pouring their hearts out into these stories, for those issues. And yeah, it's swept under the rug. I want to show you my Bernie Wrightson portrait he did of me.
Nice.
I love that.
So you can tell by the chin. He did the chin for me.
Nice. He clapped that. There you go.
That's real cool.
Yeah.
He was actually that. I've had that since he was doing those for $100 at shows.
Yeah, I mean, in the 90s, he was giving classes.
Yeah.
He was giving classes. Remember, he was showing people how to do it too. He would hold a Sharpie. He would hold a Sharpie not like this.
Yeah, sideways.
He would hold it like this.
Yeah, sideways.
Yeah, and he would draw something, and he'd talk to you at the same time, and you swear he wasn't even looking at the paper, and it would come out perfectly. He was just doing it with his hands. One of my favorite lines from Howard Chaykin about Bernie was, it's 1973. We're all sitting in this apartment in New York. We're all thinking we're going to be out of money and we're going to be at jobs because there's a paper shortage. And we look at Bernie and we're like, this fucker's he's gonna do fine whatever he does. He can draw. He can go to the Louvre right now and draw if he want. He could draw on the walls of the Louvre right now and no one would stop him. I thought it was a great line where the comic book guys were like, we got to worry about our careers, but Bernie, yeah, you're on your own. You got nothing to worry about, which was just.
He was a qualified painter as well. In any medium, he was like, if you just go to that, I don't mediocre card set he did in the 90s, even that, was it was a job, but I mean, you saw that he could just jam them out.
He's got a painting on Heritage now, which I'm following, but I'm probably not going to bid on it because I don't pay that much for original art. I'm not an original art guy, but I like to watch it, and I'll show you guys. It's a painting, and it's nothing elaborate, but I just thought it was cool, and it's just what you're saying. He's good on any medium, and here's an example of a painting. I think this is from that card set. I think this is the original painting that they used for that card set.
Oh wow!
Yeah, probably. And they're all about 8. They're like 9 by 12. They're smaller, So I've had a few of those. Yeah.
Yeah, this one.
I've had a few of those.
What does it say the size is here? I remember seeing them small. 10 by 12.
Yeah.
It's a hand-painted original from the card game, the Heresy, Kingdom Come. So I guess it's in 1995. It's from 1995.
Oh, yeah, he did a lot of things for Kingdom Come. And he was doing a lot. He did the Live Alive towards the end, but then he was working. He did a lot of stuff in the 80s with commercials and set designs too. I mean, there's stories that he did like.
Oh yeah, I got a piece right here. I can show you. Let me go look for it.
Yeah, I think he did like commercials and stuff like that. He was doing all sorts of fun stuff.
I do want to get a Bernie Wrightson piece, and I'll tell you, I feel like there's a fair amount of it on the market. I see Wrightson pieces a lot, and they're not all comic book, like original art pages or covers or anything. They're just sketches or little paintings. There seems to be a lot of Wrightson stuff out there available. So at some point, I'd like to pick up a cool sketch or a little painting like that or something of Wrightson. I don't collect OA. I don't want some elaborate, huge page that's worth a lot of money. I just want something. And I passed up on, he did 3 sketches in pencil of like alien skulls. And I only went for like $250, and I didn't want to spend that much on it.
Yeah,
I regret it. I just spent $250 on it. Like, what the hell? Bernie writes original sketches of skulls instead of $250, But sometime I'll get something like that just to frame and hang on the wall.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a lot of Bernie stuff, but my favorite is the sister to his one of himself is the one I have of Frankenstein. Right there, it's my favorite one. But the cover for one of these covers is available right now on eBay for $45,000. Yeah, I think it's the first. It's either 7, 8, or 9. or I don't think it's the Chillers one. Hang on, I gotta look at his Marvel work. I got a lot of rights and weird obscurities that I collect. So
Yeah, the only stuff I have is just Bronze Age comic books in slabs. That's pretty much all I got.
this is the one that's for sale right now.
You know, Anthony, stuff when he can't find the page. Did you find it? You can't find it?
Yeah, it's a set design piece from Ghostbusters.
Oh,
yeah. He did the second one too. Yeah, he did the design.
Yeah,
for the
so
second.
it's the whole movie. It's about, are you the gatekeeper? Are you the key keeper? Whatever. And this was the design for the gate.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I know he did cereal commercials too. He's the artist for the Frankenberry. Frankenberry's Castle.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've shown you guys the Dead Ringer, right? The Meatloaf album.
Oh, he did that?
Yeah, he did the Meatloaf album. This is the picture disc from London. He did the Meatloaf album, Dead Ringer, and he did the Backstage Pass, which I have a copy of. And was that little animal there, and that's Wrightson right here. Yeah, just something he did in the '80s. Yeah.
Well, I've had a ton of his work was doing all the creature designs for all the horror movies.
Yeah, the creature,
like the Fog, and and all that stuff. All those monsters, he did the design art for. I used to, every time I'd see him, he was selling the A, B, C, and D creature, different versions of the creature that he was doing for production stuff. Nice. That was. He was such a good guy, It was like you expected him to be kind of horrible because he was such a horror artist, but he was the nicest guy. Really, really, really sad when he passed, and how he suffered. It was.
It's been 3 years. I can't believe it. Have you ever seen this? The Conan. This is his first. This Bernie did Wrightson. This is 1968. This is a hardcover book from Baltimore from the Mirage Press. And it says on the inside here, the dust wrapper for this book was a work of a young Baltimore artist, Bern Wrightson. And there's old skills signature right there, which is there. And apparently he was about 17 when he did this.
Wow.
Yeah. This is the Conan Reader. Cool. Yeah, kind of tough to find. It's an obscure publisher, But when you find it,
Yeah, here's the piece I passed up on. It sold for $228. It was just a small slip of paper. Let me get this a little brighter so you can see it. It's not even high quality or anything, but it had some drawings of like skulls on it, alien skulls.
Mm-hmm.
And like how they would open up.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just those 4 little sketches of skulls, 2 skulls that opened up. It sort of looks like the movie Alien almost. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I was gonna buy that. It sold for $228, and it's right up my alley. And I regret not paying for that. I mean, that's such a cool little piece, and it's inexpensive as far as original art goes, and it's small and it has skulls on it. So, but yeah, there's always a lot of his stuff around. It seems like I don't think his stuff's really that rare to find something of his. There seems to be a lot of it.
No, like I said, I think the cover for this book is on eBay right now for $45,000. It's been out there for a while though. I think this is his first work from Marvel. It's a 15 center, so it makes me think it is. So. Anyway, back to the GA books before we there. The other question I had, or we had from people wanted to ask, this was from somebody else that says, "Okay, you love collecting the Golden Age. You guys all collect the Golden Age. Are there books that you think that'll never come, that don't come up, that are only coming up now that you?" Yeah, I would say yeah. I think there are books now that have come up that I'm surprised at what they've gone for the first time they've sold. We just talked about a Super Mystery number 3. volumes that just sold for about a little over $2,000, give or take, and that's probably a new high for that at that grade of a 2.0. And DS is hoping that more come to market soon.
Well, that's a book I've been familiar with for several years, and you never see it for sale. I think I saw one for sale 2 years ago, and it's such a sort of coveted dark GA book. And there's quite a few on the census, 40 or 50 of them. That's not rare among Golden Age books. You just never see them come up. And this one that just came up is only a 2.0, but since we never see it, I'll show a picture of it here so everybody knows what we're talking about.
Yeah, sorry everybody. We should be showing pictures. I know we get yelled at for that.
It's got this massive.
It's called the paper cutter.
The paper cutter. This guy back here with lots of spikes and a skeleton back here.
Presents really well.
So yeah, I mean it's a 2.0 and it has some issues, but it's a 2.0, good color, decent looking, and it's sold for like $1,500. It sold for, and yeah, I mean it's hard to price a book like that because you just never see them come up, and a 2.0 went for $1,500 now. So I suspect we'll see some more low grade copies come to market, but that's just one that people, when they get it, they don't let it go. No matter how much on the census, you just don't ever see them come up for sale. And this is just one of them. It's one of those funky little fringe books that people like.
Yeah. I have talked to someone recently about a few books, rare books that I've talked about with some people, and they've said that there's a few books that have come out recently that they didn't think they've seen that are more coming, like the next couple of keep an eye out what's out there. So,
well, I'll tell you one. I've got one I'll pull out and show that I think is,
sure. Everybody, we were talking Frazetta to Wrightson, and I always consider Kamen and Baker and all those guys were it's all classic artists of the day.
This is one that rarely ever comes up, and there really aren't that many on the census. But I am so lucky I got a copy of this, and I'm just using an excuse to show it. I love showing this book. It's one of my absolute favorite books. And you just never see these come up ever anywhere, and it's just such a cool book.
It's such a great condition for that Chesler too. It's Chesler, right?
Yeah, it's a Chesler, and it's like 64 pages, and it has one staple. So the only ones I've seen all have detached covers, just like this one, because it has, the one staple here, and it's like 64 pages or 60 pages or something. So they always get detached, but a legit book, it's just a really cool one. Sort of in the category of that paper cutter book. It's a rare book. It's very dark, and you just never see it. So I got lucky to find one of these. A friend turned me on to the location of it, and I was able to store it. So, yeah, really lucky to have this. Books like that, when they come up, you never know. I mean, what would this sell for? There's no way to gauge it. It's just how much does somebody want it, and you go with your gut. I don't know what that would sell for.
Yeah, a lot of the Cheslers are definitely a fan-based book. I think a lot of people are fans of Cheslers, or they're not. And your fans of Cheslers tend to really flock together. It's the Punch 12 theory and everything else. They're great. That was good. That's a great book.
Yeah, Punch 12 is another one that doesn't come up very often. I don't think it's ultra rare. But that's another one when it comes up. I mean, what is the price? So Torpedo has had one like a 0.5 missing the back cover, is why it's a 0.5, but otherwise it's not bad. And they've been asking like, I don't know, $5,000 or $7,000 or something, and nobody's bidding on it. So it's hard to tell what that would go for. I don't think it's an unreasonable price for a Punch 12 missing a back cover, but it hasn't sold. So I don't know. It's hard to gauge prices and stuff like this.
So I kind of think it's a great, it's a good time for everybody right now. Anthony, did you have anything else you wanted to show? Might have to end the show a little early. I'm actually losing my internet. Apparently, we've been having Wi-Fi issues here.
Oh, well, so one of the reasons why I think Surfer 4 is such a great, issue with people is because Joe Sinnott inked it, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
with Buscema, of course, doing the cover.
Yeah.
No, but
Joe
I mean,
Sinnott,
Joe over John is just
Still the
like
best.
the best thing ever.
Right. I agree with that. That's the best.
So this was a commission I had.
Nice.
Oh, that's nice.
So that Joe did
Nice. Yeah, we just lost him this year.
for me
Yeah, that's
as
real.
an art dealer. Somebody else had this, but I got it to do something with. I should make T-shirts or something, to give away.
Yeah, that's really
such a great image.
What is what's Surfer carrying in that photo? What is
comic art pages?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so he's storing the cosmic skyways for comic art.
That's bro. You get that on a T-shirt and put your name, your
yeah.
name on
I'll
there.
buy one of those. I'll get one of those.
This definitely should be one of my next T-shirts. I did the I Belong and stuff like that. And one of the big things that hit eBay, like with a thud was the cover to the art of John Buscema that was being sold by the family.
Right.
And I was bidding on it, for, probably about halfway up the scale because it ended up going for over $80,000.
Yeah.
And that was one that got away though. I wish I could have really competed for it, but I didn't. Especially because his grandson, he gave it to a grandson named Anthony, and it said to Anthony.
Oh,
something.
I spoke to his granddaughter recently, Stephanie.
The artist?
Yeah, she's done some My Little Pony stuff for my daughter. Yeah, she's really good.
She's quite talented in the genre, though. I like her stuff.
Yeah, she's very good at the pony, and my daughter loves My Little Pony, so she got the Princess Celeste. I don't know which one. It's from the movie. But I asked her about that all the time. About, do you have any of Joan's old art? They're like, it's all been commissioned, cataloged, and booked by the family. They knew exactly what they had. John kept everything, and so did Sal. Sal still does. I heard Sal still has some of his high-end stuff that he kept himself for now. Some of the Defenders covers. So I like to see some of that come to market.
Yeah, there's been a few Defenders covers that actually have gone through Heritage lately.
Yeah, I saw that on the number 6 and 4.
Yeah, number 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they were using a guy that sold his pages for them both, and he didn't really protect their price points along the way. There was a lot of stuff that sold cheap through the years.
Yeah, I'm thinking years ago of when people were alive, what you could get from them directly. I'm thinking nowadays people have no idea. I mean, I remember going to, like, Jim Starlin was selling Jim Starlin pages for a couple of $100. I remember from like like Al Milgrom and him were sitting there. I forget where I was. Well, Al Milgrom was sitting there selling, I think it was like or Shang-Chi, like the first, like a lot of them, like pages were like, they were just stacks of them and you could go through them. They were like $100, I mean, that's what it was back. And Anthony will tell you back in the early 90s, that's what it was. The artist was selling a lot of pages themselves, or a guy or they were part of a group of guys that was selling things. So I've always been interested to look at some of that stuff. I got lucky and got a few 90s artist stuff, but could never get the 60s artists or stuff. One of the things I want to bring about the Golden Age is that there is the next Comic Link auction. I'm going to going to do a focus on this. Some books on there that we've talked about over the years that I'm going to bring up, and we can actually see how it goes over the course of the auction from where we first brought up some of these books. Because some of the books DS has had, or I've had, or Knights have had, or has, and where they've evolved to. And I was looking at some of the previews for the fall auction, and it's like a Golden Guys marathon of books that we've talked about, so it'll be fun one to see where it all goes. But Anthony, do you have anything you wanted to plug real fast?
Oh, just anybody locally in Bergen County or that wants to come out, or people. I have had some customers tell me they're driving up from like North Carolina or down from Boston for the comic art show this Sunday. So I hope I'm hoping that goes well. I put a lot of effort into it. Anybody that's coming in town, I'm available Saturday at my warehouse where I keep my art. That's only about 5 minutes away. You could walk to the hotel from my spot to where the art show is. And, that's man, I'm just trying to get the ball rolling with live shows here.
Yeah, very good. Anthony's link to his shop is in the description, by the way. Click that whenever you want to.
I actually have the largest volume of comic art on a website, and now I have almost 200,000 listings on eBay.
Oh, wow. I do go to your page a lot. There is a page I'm interested in. I'll talk to you about it later.
Drop me an email. I'll take care of you.
There you go. Of course. Always good.
Nobody's more flexible in their dealings than I am. I have too much.
I will be honest with you. I've dealt with you enough times that I can attest to the fact that it's a pleasure every time. But we're going to head out a little bit here. DS, did you want to plug anything?
I don't have anything to plug.
Yeah, me neither. We'll be doing stuff. Anthony, stick around after this. Chad wants me to ask you something real quick. But once again, thanks everybody for joining us. Sorry about the internet connection, but it's what we're good. Okay.
Thank you for being a friend. Travel down the road and back again. Your heart is true. You're a pal and a confidant.